Okay, today I'm going to do a walkthrough on how to install and set up a basic inpainting workflow using the Inpaint Crop Stitch Custom Node by CUDA. This setup will be done on an RTX series GPU, be it RTX 5070, RTX 5070 Ti, RTX 5080, 5090 Blackwell GPUs are all applicable using the Comfyui setup with Pytorch 2.7 for CUDA 12.8. To illustrate why I use this custom node for my inpainting, I will show you how a standard inpainting workflow works. I'm using an inpainting checkpoint for this, where an image is masked, encoded, and sent through a K-sampler to be inpainted. Looks pretty standard, right? The question is, when I have multiple areas to inpaint, I need to send the image over and over again to amend multiple areas. This workflow will encode the image from pixel to latent, to inpaint and decode it back to pixel multiple times, which results in distortion of the rest of the area. This demo shows you how I inpainted the eyes, the shirt to green, the sky to the clouds, added a necklace and changed the earrings. Here, the comparison from the first inpaint to the final image, although everything was changed as instructed, the overall image was really distorted through multiple encoding and decoding cycles. Now let me show you a standard Inpaint Crop Stitch custom workflow. Just for context, for this demo, I'm using another custom node called the efficiency node. It doesn't really improve the image results, it's just a node to reorganize the basic nodes into one single node. I'll show you the installation and workflow of efficiency nodes in another video instead, so don't get confused by it. Just know that it's a reorganization of default nodes and it doesn't improve the overall image quality in any ways. What we want to focus on is the actual Inpaint Crop Stitch nodes. An additional mention is the differential diffusion nodes, which is supposed to help with inpainting as well. Other than that, everything should be as per default. And with that, I'll show you a demo of multiple layers of inpainting similar to what we did earlier with the basic workflow, where I changed the eyes, the clothes, the sky, the necklace, and the earrings. Now we shall compare the original image with the inpainted final image. As you can see, except for the inpainted parts, the rest of the image remains exactly the same, because only the mask area is sent to be encoded and inpainted instead of the whole image. So, I hope with this mini demo, I show you the difference between both workflows for the default and the one using the custom nodes, and why it might be better to use the custom node method instead for your inpainting. With that, we can move on to the actual installation video. But before that, I would appreciate a like, comment, and subscribe to help push this video to the right community who might find it useful. First, let me load my basic workflow. You can ignore what's connected underneath for now, as it's not important and I've already bypassed it. Go to Comfyui Manager and search for crop. Look for Inpaint Crop Stitch by Louis. You can read up on his GitHub page for more info and explanation if you wish. Go ahead and install it. For me, I chose the nightly version as usual, but just be sure to back up your Comfyui before trying any new nodes, just in case you encounter any errors you can't fix. At least you have a working copy that you can reuse if required. Once that is done, restart Comfyui and it will start installing the requirement. As usual, I'll do a quick check to see if there are any major errors that might break my Comfyui. If not, I will redo the setup accordingly. For this demo setup, let me start off with some disclaimers first. Since I started off using the default workflow, I'll just set up using the default workflow as well, instead of what was previously shown where I used the efficiency nodes, which was useful just for demonstration purposes. so that this is easier for you to understand how it works and there will be less confusion. I'll only start to use efficiency nodes in the future after I release another video on how to download and set them up. That will be my first disclaimer. My second disclaimer is this video is meant to show how to set things up and check if things works instead of generating wonderful images. So the results I'm going to generate for this video is going to be horrendous because I want to show how it works. So most of the values are set to default and not optimized yet. For better understanding of what values to set and for what purpose in order to get better looking images, continue to like, comment and subscribe while waiting for me to figure things out. Since this is a fresh installation using my RTX 5070 Ti, there are tons of things I'm not aware of as well. It's gonna take a while, so bear with me on this. With the end of my disclaimers, let us continue. We begin by bringing up two load image nodes, one for the actual image to Inpaint and another for context mask purposes. This is meant to expand the scope of the area so the checkpoint is able to understand the context around the area that you are inpainting. Next, bring up an Inpaint model conditioning node which serves to connect your model, clip, and VAE to the Inpaint Crop and Stitch so that both nodes speak the same language. Then bring up a K-sampler node, then the Inpaint Crop node and Inpaint Stitch node. I usually put an image sharpening node at the end before the preview node as a final touch, but it's optional if you don't want to. Connect the image sharpen to the Inpaint Stitch node and finally to the output node, either for preview or save image. Connect the K-sampler to the VAE decode node and to the image sharpen node to finish one part of the workflow. Then we move back to connect the VAE and model. Then we will connect the load image node to the Inpaint Crop node. The latent positive, negative from the Inpaint model conditioning node connects to the K-sampler. We also connect the positive, negative and VAE to the Inpaint model conditioning input as well. Connect the load image mask to the Inpaint Crop node. Connect the second image to the optional context mask node. Connect the crop node to the stitch node. Connect the crop image and crop mask line to the Inpaint model conditioning input. Bring the conditioning node forward for a better view. Control B to bypass nodes that are irrelevant, or you can delete the previous K-sampler and preview node since you don't really need them. And that should be it. Now, let's test if it works. Let's bring in an image of this guy, load it into both the Inpaint image and the context image, and give it a very clear-cut prompt so we should be able to see clear results if it works. Another disclaimer is I've heard that SDXL and above don't really need to use Inpaint models. I'll explore that in a later video after I get my configurations right for this. But in my case, I'm loading an SD 1.5 normal checkpoint which is not used for inpainting. This means it's likely to get terrible results as it's not good at contexting or partial sampling of small areas. So to repeat myself, please go to CiviAI and find Inpaint models if you wish to get good results for inpainting using SD 1.5. I'll leave a few good ones in the descriptions below so you can try it out. Now, let's go back to the base image. Right click, open Mask Editor, draw the area on the face you wish to change, put the prompt in and cue prompt. You see a horrible result of the change since I didn't use an inpainting checkpoint for this demo. Take note again that this is just a demo to show how Inpaint Crop and Stitch Custom Node actually works on Comfyui that is running on RTX 50 series GPU. So this is not the machine's fault for the monstrosity, but it is on me. Last demo of the day is I'll show you how it works when you include a context mask. Simply right click, open the image in mask editor, and you can paint a larger area around this guy to let your model know that instead of just putting a random female face on the mask area, the context is that this is actually a man that is wearing an orange karate suit. And the result is the model will recognize that, and the chances of generating a man's face will be much higher due to the provided context that this is indeed a man that is wearing an orange karate suit. I hope this explains how the optional context mask works. Do you always need to use it? Not necessarily. It's mainly used when you are not satisfied with the results that you can generate without it. Most of the time, if your inpainted area is large enough, there should be enough context for it to work on its own without the optional mask. Just leave it unmasked if you don't need it and it won't do anything. Okay, so this sums up the basic walkthrough on the installation and setup of the Inpaint Crop and Stitch node for Comfyui running on RTX 50 series GPU using the Pytorch 2.7 nightly build with CUDA 12.8. There are a lot more configurations that you can and must experiment with, which I didn't show in this video. I'll explore more on my end and probably post another video once I get used to this new machine to explain more about these inpaint nodes, such as expanding the crop factors, filling mask holes, mask and blend pixels, which are important so that your inpainted portion doesn't look like a PowerPoint step-on project. And most importantly is the mode, which determines if you are upscaling the inpainted portion before you do your sampling. This is especially important for SD 1.5 due to its size limit. Making the inpaint area too small will render your output image useless as the area is simply too small to sample. Let me know if you need more information on how to use Inpaint Crop and Stitch in the comments, and I'll see if I'll be able to create a video in the future to talk about it. I believe this node is rather universal and can be used for any type of image editing, including fixing your larger images such as flux models. Remember to like, comment and subscribe to help push this video to the right community that might find it useful. Until then, I will see you when I see you.